I need to collect my pension at Banamex Bank, and it's very difficult for me. I worked for 45 years and my fingerprints have worn out.
With a green notebook in her hands and reading a message, she prepared to tell her story. An elderly person, 92 years old, named Tránsito Villegas Escutia, reported on social media the difficulties he faces every time he tries to collect his pension at a Banamex branch. Mr. Tránsito explained that after more than 40 years of doing heavy physical work, his fingerprints have worn down to the point where the bank's biometric readers can no longer recognize them. For this reason, every time he goes to a teller window, the system can't verify his identity. Faced with this situation, the retired gentleman said he feels sad about the obstacles he faces, even though he carries several valid IDs with him, such as his INA ID card, his INAPAM card, and his IMSS card.
I need to collect my pension at Banamex Bank, and it's very difficult for me because my fingerprints are very worn out. I worked for 45 years in very hard jobs and my fingerprints got worn out.
Precisely because of the difficulties he faces, Mr. Tránsito made a very specific request that there should be an alternative so that people over 80 years old or those with worn fingerprints can prove their identity and access their money. Likewise, Villegas Escutia made it clear that his protest is not directed against the tellers or the branch staff, but against a system that does not take into account the difficulties that elderly people may face.
What am I asking for? That elderly people should be paid just by showing their Banamex bank card and INE ID for their own good, because their fingerprints are already very worn out.
Don Tránsito's case quickly sparked reactions as his complaint went viral on social media, where hundreds of users showed empathy for him. And they also shared similar experiences they've had with their own parents or grandparents at different financial institutions in the country. In fact, this wouldn't be the first time that an elderly person has filed a complaint about a similar issue. In 2025, an influencer named Miguel Ángel Covarrubias reported the case of Doña Prefecta, an 86-year-old woman who went several times to an HCBC branch to try to withdraw her money, but whose system also failed to recognize her fingerprints. The woman brought documents to prove her identity, including her voter ID and her birth certificate. However, even with these documents, she still had trouble accessing her own money.
We are accompanying Doña Prefecta. She is 86 years old. She has come to this branch many times to try to access her money she has in this bank. But they tell her that her fingerprints are not accepted. So we are here to ask the branch to give her her money.
After her case became known and she received support from the content creator, a solution was finally found. The bank gave her a card so she could carry out her transactions normally. Meanwhile, let me explain why this happens. The difficulty in recognizing fingerprints in elderly people is not an isolated problem. A study by UNAM indicates that 48% of elderly adults do not have fingerprints that are clear enough for identification. According to specialists, as the years go by, the skin loses collagen and elasticity. This can cause the lines of the fingerprints to become less defined, and therefore harder for biometric readers to detect. For this reason, cases like those of Tránsito and Prefecta highlight the need for alternative identification mechanisms that allow older adults to carry out their banking transactions without facing obstacles to accessing their own money. What do you think? Do you believe banks should adapt their protocols to avoid violating the rights of older adults? Do you think so? Tell us your opinion in the comments, and if you like this video, don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell.